So the Bible was written in Greek, and in Greek, the word for little book is a scroll, or a piece of vellum rolled up. Sclerotia is the Greek word for fungus or fungi, which is a mushroom, entheogen, the Amanita. It all makes perfect sense when you understand it. And you see these men, these living men, these men who were alive at the time they were depicted in these paintings or in the stories. They'll have a nimbus that is either square or looks like a roll of vellum wrapped around their head, a scroll. That's a symbol that they are anointed ones or enlightened ones, just the same way as it is in Hindu or Buddhist worship, and you see a bodhisattva or a guru or a yogi depicted as having a halo or an aura. And what this is significant of is literally once your energy vibration levels begin to rise at a higher level because you're more filtered, your DNA has been literally tuned up through the taking of the entheogen, and it's activated more pathways in your cosmos. It's birthed more stars, if you will, in the nebulae of your brain's neurotransmitter pathways, and you're now vibrating at a much higher frequency. And you find, wow, okay, everything else seems kind of commonplace to me. Everybody else is running at a much lower frequency. The problem with that is it causes interference, because when you're operating up here and everybody else, so it's like, it just don't work. It's got to work. You can't be real fast and then like this, you're going to have bounce back. It doesn't work. So that's why I am trying to deliver this message to humanity, is to bring everybody's vibration up. That's what we have to do. Same thing. You got to be tied to the whipping post of your heart mentally and your mind physically. Okay? Think on that. And I'm going to read you real quick Revelation chapter 10. This is the experience that led John into his revelation. Now, if you're a Bible-believing Christian and you followed me this far, thank you, and I appreciate it. I'm going to explain all this in more videos, but you have to understand the way the Bible's written and what it actually means when you're reading it as a scientific treatise, just like instructions, an instruction manual. The Egyptians didn't write things for no reason. They had instruction manuals to do everything. The Book of the Dead was an instruction manual as to how to die and progress, and then actually it's called the Book of Coming Forth by Day. That's the thing. So being reborn. When you're baptized, what is a Christian? He's reborn. You know how you become reborn? Because you're bathed in the water, the living water from the firmament of heaven. You're bathed in it. You've taken the Pentecost, the sacrament of Christ's body and his blood, through the taking of the plant. You don't have to be a cannibal. You don't have to take a cracker. You don't have to believe in the doctrine of transubstantiation and fairy tales. You can do it for real. You can really feel it. But I do not suggest anybody do this, or you just take any substance. Do not fall into that trap. You need someone who understands the esoteric meaning and the exoteric meaning of all of this, because science and religion are no different when understood through the correct lens. With that being said, keep an open mind while I'm reading this and explaining it. Revelation chapter 10, the angel and the small scroll. Then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, surrounded by a cloud with a rainbow over his head. His face shone like the sun, and his feet were like pillars of fire. His face shone like the sun, and his feet were like pillars of fire. It's a description of the place and the type of thing that you're looking for. And in his hand was a small scroll. There it is. That's the key word, the small scroll. The sclerotia. If you understand Greek, Italian, or Spanish even today, Isha or Itia, it's a diminutive term, so it means little. So small scroll, sclerotia. It's not a big leap to make to say, okay, sclerotia, fungus, the mushroom. In his hand was a small mushroom, a small scroll, a mushroom, which he had unrolled. He stood with his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land. That's a geographic description. It's a coastal area. And he gave a great shout like the roar of a lion. That means near a cave, because caves echo. And when he shouted, the seven thunders answered. Ooh, the seven thunders. Now we have heard of the seven thunders. They're the the echoes of God. When the seven thunders spoke, I was about to write, but a voice from heaven called to me, keep secret what the seven thunders said. Do not write it down. If you partake in the Amanita, as I have, you'll understand what he's talking about when he means the voice of heaven will come down and say things to you to let you know. Then the mighty angel standing on the sea and the land lifted his right hand to heaven, and he swore an oath in the name of the one who lives forever and ever, who created heaven and everything in it, the earth and everything in it, the sea and everything in it. He said, quote, God will wait no longer, but when the seventh angel blows his trumpet, God's mysterious plan will be fulfilled. It will happen just as he announced to his servants, the prophets. You know who the prophets are, his servants. They are the shamans, the priests, the Chilam Balams, the jaguar priests of the Mayans, or the reindeer sleigh flying shamans of Siberia, or the Babylonian medicine men who would go out in pairs of three, or in groups of three. Your Greek healers, all of them derive from the same ancient source. The first person that thought, who was following behind his reindeer herd, and he saw Dancer and Prancer eating these mushrooms, they would seek these mushrooms out at the base of these pine trees, and they would eat them, and then a short time later, they would literally start dancing and prancing and flying about. This shepherd was like, I wonder what, I'm going to try these mushrooms. I'm going to try this plant. Let's see what exactly the deal is. That guy was Thoth. He was the first person to achieve enlightenment. Might not have happened overnight. Something happened though. And it continued to happen. And you know what happened? We became an enlightened race. We became a species that was enlightened. And if you ascribe to a lot of the other theories, I can get into a lot of things. Believing in the Sumerian text, the king list goes back 250,000 years. Scientifically, we have Denisovan DNA, which isn't related to any known Neanderthal or human being, has been found in caves in Spain and in Denisova, Russia. The ones in Spain dating back almost 400,000 years for the Denisovan skulls. They're like us, but apparently not genetically related. And 280,000 to 300,000 years ago at the cave in Denisova, and that's in Russia, have been living there. There's also human and Neanderthal skulls right alongside. Maybe not as old, but inhabiting the same places. So the idea that at one point in time an alien race, maybe it was just a race that died out, perhaps a smarter race that perhaps became sterile or something, you never can actually tell, and then thus their race died out, or they developed some sort of a genetic deficiency because of something some practice they were using, say I don't know, eugenics. Perhaps over a long period of time, their eugenics experiment that they were carrying out in selective breeding backfired or created some sort of chimera that ended up killing off their population. And we have them in myths and things today as star people. But perhaps they could have been advanced enough to actually have traveled to the stars in chariots of fire as it's depicted in the Bible. It says it right there. But I'm going to continue here. Then when the voice from heaven called to me again, he said, quote, go and take the unrolled scroll from the angel who is standing on the sea and on the land. So I approached him and I asked him to give me the little scroll. He said, quote, yes, take it and eat it, he said. Quote, at first it will taste like honey, but when you swallow it, it will make your stomach sour. Now the Amanita is classified as such, as a psychoactive, but it will cause stomach blah. So you have to know how to prepare it properly. You can eat it, you'll probably let something loose though. Not too vicious, but it's the way it is. John says, so I took the little scroll from the hands of the angel and I ate it. It was sweet in my mouth, but it made my stomach sour. Then he said to me, quote, you must prophesy again in many peoples, nations, languages, about many peoples, nations, languages, and kings. The end of Revelation chapter 10 of John of Patmos. Patmos was a Greek island. that is known for being plentiful in the Amanita Muscaria mushroom. And Mr. John Allegro, I believe is his name, wrote The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. And he was one of the first people to delve in to the Dead Sea Scrolls and give them a real thorough study. And his thesis is definitely worth giving a look.